声音是一个很奇妙的一个工具，很多学生听了我们 podcast 之后就问我们到底要怎么样听起来更高级。那今天希望跟大家分享一种非常少人知道的英文口音，它可以完全的提高说话内容的价值。那当然也有一种口音是有相反的作用哦。Hello， 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管双语沟通力的 podcast。我们希望带给大家最实用的沟通工具，包括了成功人士对全球市场的分享、职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。Hi, I'm Sherry, founder of Executive Plus.As a language trainer and certified coach, I've trained hundreds of managers from Fortune 500 companies such as Dior, Google, Deloitte, and Yahoo!And
I'm Nick, Director of Communication Strategy at Presentality. I've helped startups raise millions of US dollars in funding and train the executives of publicly listed companies to present on the global stage.
Welcome to the Executive Plus podcast,
where you can take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast.Today's episode, we're going to talk about accents. Now, Sherry and I are not claiming to be experts, and there's a lot of information out there about how to have a better accent, try different countries' accents. But what we want to talk about is some basic things that you can do to speak a little clearer, but also that the type of accent that you pick up will give someone a sense of whether you're sophisticated and smart,or whether you're going the wrong direction with the impression you're creating.
那其实这个所谓 accent， 我相信大部分在学习语言的话，你都知道说有可能是英国的 accent 或者是美式的 accent， 我们通常比较了解都是这两种。那当然有很多人他会去选择他喜欢哪一种口音。那我们今天不是在讲说你一定要去选择哪一种口音，但是我们想要提供你一个口音，它其实是蛮特别的，它并不是属于哪一种区域，但是 for some reason 它可以很神奇的让你所讲话的内容听起来就是比较尊贵的那种感觉。那当然相反的，其实是有一种口音，它可以就算你讲话内容是非常重要的，但是它就会让那个内容会听起来没有办法让人家听得下去，或者是它可能会有点 downgrade 你那整个的内容的 quality。 那为什么我们要讲到这个 episode 呢？是因为我最近看了非常多AD 的 YouTube video， 那 AD 就是 Architectural Digest。 那它这个 Architectural Digest 我相信如果你知道的话，它就是有很多的 real estate agent 或者是有很多的 developer， 他会给大家看那种非常昂贵的，我说的昂贵就是那种亿的那种市值的房子，不管在纽约啊或者是在哪里 Bel Air， 就是整个美国的土地上面就是所有的一些 amazing houses。 那当然你必须当你在讲那么贵的东西的时候嘛，你的口音就变得非常的重要。那某一些 real estate agent 他就是很会去卖这种很高级的房子，他的口音是让你能够，他就算在讲一块破布你都觉得这一块布是非常非常的 expensive 的感觉。但是有一些人呢，他讲话的方式你知道他是个 real estate agent， 他可能会卖东西，但是他就没有办法呈现出来那种感觉。所以我就发现蛮有意思的，因为这种口音你很难去区别说到底是英国还是美国，那为什么他就是听起来那么的 expensive 的感觉。
And this becomes interesting because, like you said, they're showing houses from different parts of the US. And what you actually find is that the US doesn't have one accent. As Americans, we can usually tell roughly which part of the country someone is from, whether it's the West Coast, the East Coast, South, Midwest, etc., due to a slight change in accent. And so when you're watching the show and they have, for example, the realtor you're talking about who has this sort of posh, very sophisticated accent, immediately when you hear that, it'd be like, he must be on the East Coast somewhere, probably New York.Whereas when you see other people who are selling the Hollywood or Bel Air or all the West Coast mansions, then you're just kind of like, oh, that's very West Coast kind of thing.
那其实有蛮多，我看了很多的 speeches， 有很多的这种 accent coach 或者是 even voice coaches， 他专门在教人家怎么使用你的声音的时候，他都会提到说这种声音这种口音它其实非常的重要。 So we did a little research and we found that this type of accent that sounds really posh, very sophisticated, it's called transatlantic accent, which is also mid-Atlantic accent, 也就是大西洋的这种口音。那大西洋就是介于在英国跟美国中间。
If you actually watch a lot of like 1950s or pre-1960s movies, most of the actors, Cary Grant, Audrey Hepburn, Katharine Hepburn, have actually been trained on this specific accent. Because of the clarity of pronunciation, it's a bit more sing-songy. You're going to hear a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but it's just an accent that people like listening to. And so there was another example of this recently, if anyone's been watching the Netflix show Halston about the famous designer in the 80s and 90s. He has a mid-Atlantic accent that he was credited for sort of making up, but it was very specifically to hit that very high-class, sophisticated persona that he wanted to show, even though he had grown up in rural US.
其实有很多的例子，就是他本身比如说他就是在美国的南边，或者是在这种比较乡下的地方长大的，但是他想要到那种跟一些socialites 跟一些比较 people that in an upper class， 他想要跟他们去 socialize， 他想要改变一下他自己的口音。 For example, like Halston， 如果你有看到他的 Netflix series 的话，你会知道说他其实改变了他的 accent， 他刻意的去 adopt 这个 transatlantic accent. We're not accent coaches. We don't exactly know all the things about this accent, 但是他有3点我记得是比较重要的。那这3点不一定你一定都要去 hit， 因为我觉得对我自己来讲，我也没有办法完全的就是去改变我的 accent. So first of all, drop the R.
Right, the R sound is not as strong. It actually is more of a round sound, or where it's builded around the next vowel or the next letter.
那另外一个 accent coach 他就讲到了说，这种 mid-Atlantic accent 他们的 T， 比如说 writer那个 T 他们特别的着重在这个地方。
And so a lot of that is for clarity. So back when they're training a lot of your famous movie stars, it's just because without the sort of sound editing that we have today, anything that you said into the microphone had to come across very clear. So you'll actually hear, for example, a word that we often pronounce interesting. The T is very soft.When you get into mid-Atlantic or transatlantic, that becomes like interesting.
那我觉得另外一个第3个部分，我觉得每一个人应该都可以做得到，就是我们刚刚所讲到那种 sing-song-like of a intonation， 比如说一句跟一句的中间我们有 up and down， 在几乎在每一句的之后，当然除了 question 之外，除了是问句之外，它的 intonation 都是往下的，所以一直都会有这种往下，不会提在那个地方或者是悬在半空中。
So a lot of these we're actually going to share links. So please check out the show notes. We'll have links very specific to different clips or different examples of this accent. But what we wanted to contrast that with is when you get into accents, especially there's one accent that Sherry likes me to do just because it's very funny. Well, it's called the Valley Girl. And this is very much a California girl accent, but it's kind of tied to immaturity or non-sophistication. And it's a big contrast to say your New York high life sophisticated versus your California very laid back. And you have what people hear about the Valley, they think of Silicon Valley, but it's just a lot of the California coast area, San Francisco especially, you'll hear people speaking like this.
那当然我们没有在讲说一定要你是东区来的才听起来比较 sophisticated 还是怎么样，但是我们意思是说其实有很多的在这种国际市场上或者是职场上的这种时候，当你是主管的角色，你必须要做 presentation， 你要做一些 speeches， 但是有很多的就算是 voice coaches 他们也提 千万不要一直把你的尾音往上提，就是我们所谓的这种 Valley Girl 的这样子的 accent，因为它所有的句子它都好像听起来像个问句一样。如果你这样做的话，你会听起来就是不够稳重的感觉，所以你所有的事情听起来好像你都是在 question yourself. You're not sure of yourself. So I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah, and the example I've had this that comes to mind, where it contradicts, I think, the feeling that people want to give is there was an interview with one of the Desperate Housewives, and she was giving a tour of the house, and I think she was actually quite a successful anesthesiologist. Her husband runs a very large company. They had both very powerful people in their career. But when she was giving a tour of the house, she used that sort of Valley Girl. And I'm going to overdo it. Like, this is not how everyone sounds. But when I make fun of the accent, she'd be like, so this is my house, and I want everyone to come in and just see, like, my chandelier. And I have a pizza oven, so if you saw the episode where we had pizza, then this is where it was. Me and the girls were just drinking and chatting. And what happens is this person who is quite successful comes across as very immature. You don't want to listen to this accent for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's just, it doesn't create the right feeling. But that's just what happens. And this is when we get into the Valley Girl. When I was young, we'd always joke if you use the word like a lot, be like, that was totally like awesome. And like, I think that I got my hair done. And he was like looking at me. And I was just like, I'm so hot.
Oh, God.
Again, this is an over-exaggeration. But when that kind of accent comes through, it doesn't give that air of sophistication. Whereas when you look at the transatlantic accent, this is the go-to with a clear pronunciation, a lot more clarity in the voice. It comes across a lot more sophisticated.
So we're going to do a little example for you guys in order to show the contrast. So Nick, would you like to take on the Valley Girl accent?
All right. So the sentence we're going to give you is actually, we'll share the clip, but it's the end of the house tour on Architectural Digest, where there's a really great tagline. And with this transatlantic accent, you just feel like, oh, this is luxury living. And the tagline, quite simply, is, this house has it all. There's the American dream, and then there's the New York dream. This is the New York dream.
And you notice that it dips down at the end of every sentence, has it all, right? New York dreams. And then this is a New York dreams. It goes up and down, up and down.
So I will let you try the transatlantic accent, and then I will do it in the Valley Girl accent.
This house truly has it all. There is the American dream, and then there is the New York dream. This is the New York dream.
And as Sherry said, with that sing-songy, the T's. This house truly has it all. That T, it's very strong. Really hitting those sounds sort of sets it apart and it sort of gives it a higher air of feeling. Now, back to my Valley Girl. This house truly has it all. There's the American dream and there's the New York dream. This is like the New York dream.
哦，希望大家可以看到 Nick 他在讲这句话。
Well, you can't say it without doing the movement.
他的手好多的戏啊。
It's not the point of this episode. But quickly hearing these two sides, even though I'm exaggerating a little bit, you can definitely see that certain aspects. So the Valley Girl accent does do a lot of the sing-songy, but it's usually sort of ending with that up sound.
It goes
right?
up.
With the transatlantic, you're ending with that down. So you really have like this almost rainbow type curve where you're going up and then you're coming back down. And really hitting on more of a posh feeling. With the Valley Girl, it's like up and down, up and down, up and down. It's usually ending up, and it almost sounds like a question.
Exactly. Again, 你要人家感受到你的稳重，你的确定你自己在说话的内容，你知道你非常 assured of yourself，那当然你的尾音一定是往下。 那如果你要听起来好像让人家感觉到你一直在 questioning yourself, like I'm not sure what am I talking about, 那当然你的 intonation 一定是往上的。So of course, I think this is just something that's easy for us to imitate and just have to pay a little bit of attention to your speech next time.
So quickly again, if you're going for that a little more sophisticated, the quick guidelines we gave is drop your R's. Don't make your R's as harsh. The T, really hit that T for the pronunciation. And then the sing-songy, but sing-song in a way that you're mid-high and then you're ending low. The other thing that you'll notice between the Valley Girl and the Transatlantic is Transatlantic, you're using a lot more diaphragm or lungs to make sound. Valley Girl is a very head, like nasally or head sounding noise. So again, for the sophistication, go after the Transatlantic, speak a little more from the diaphragm, and then go with an up, mid, and then a low bottom. We hope that this helps, and if you want to play with your accent, we'll link you a few resources in the show notes. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
如果你喜欢我们的 podcast, 欢迎来追踪我们的主管英文 Executive Plus 的 Facebook. 那也可以写信到我们的信箱yourcareerplus@gmail.com